Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanamastu. On this auspicious day, the third night of the Navaratris, we were able to sing for 1 hour the Shakti Nama, Nama laden with the power of God, which is a great fortune to all of us who have joined together. Now, before we offer our prayers at the lotus feet of Bhagwan, we shall see one or two incidents, Leelas of Bhagwan, where how he came to the rescue of the devotee when she called out. It may sound very worldly when we seek Bhagwan's blessings for something worldly. But let us know that today's world of Maya, since we have not come out of our ego self, the Maya is very real. Just as when you dream, whatever happens in the dream is real. It's only when you come out of the dream, you would know it was a dream. Until then, in the dream, if you really feel thirsty in the dream, you have to drink the dream water. If you feel hungry in the dream, you have to eat the dream food. We know the classic example of someone dreaming of a tiger pouncing upon him, and how he would tremble out of fear. And as soon as he wakes up, he knows that it was only a dream, but the trembling really happened. He might still be trembling. How real it is. Like this, now the world we are living in is a long dream. Our dreams, when we go to sleep, are very short ones because the night soon comes to an end. But this, our living in this world, is a long dream. We have now fallen into a kind of sleep. And what is happening today, what is happening in our lives, is all a dream. When we come out of this dream, only we would know that this wakeful hours of our life have really been a dream. You have to wake out of this life, this Maya. So until then, until we give up, the ego self, until the ego self is completely uprooted. Whatever happens is real to us. And therefore our suffering is very real. And amid suffering, we call out to God for the relief. And the relief comes. It takes us closer to God. And since all of us have to deal with this wakeful dream, we have to connect with God somehow or the other, and the sufferings help us in a very intense way. Now let's go to the experience of Mrs. Shanta Krishnan of Coimbatore. Shanta and Krishnan both used to come to the ashram regularly. Shanta in 1994 had a paralytic attack. Her right hand and right leg were affected. She was not able to move them freely. Somehow she was limping around with that foot. She would be dragging that foot and limping around. The right hand is very important for all of us. So we have a fairly good idea how much she would have suffered, especially when it happened all of a sudden, as it always happens in such cases. In 1995, they brought out a souvenir of Bhagwan, and at the time, Sri Krishnan, Shanta's husband, joined the Aksarsam company of Sri Kripakaramurthy, and they came to know about Bhagwan. They read this book, particularly the souvenir, and after that, Shanta's longing to have darshan of Bhagwan became very intense. And 1997, 98, they did have darshan. But after that, in 2008, they visited the ashram. Their elder daughter was getting married, and they wanted to bring the invitation. They wanted to keep the first invitation at the feet of Bhagwan. So they came here, prayed to Bhagwan, offered the invitation, and then left for Kanchipuram because they wanted to do some shopping for the sake of the wedding, especially the silk sarees for the wedding. Sri Krishnan had filled up 2 bags with money. The silk sarees are expensive. And they had taken a taxi. They went all the way to Kanchipuram, stayed in a hotel, and went about shopping. First they used 1 bag of money, did all the purchasing, and finally when they finished by afternoon, they were waiting for the taxi to come. At the time they saw 2 other shops. They wanted to visit, they went there, but they did not purchase anything. It was not to their liking, and then they came out, and again they waited for the taxi. Now at that time, Sri Krishnan wanted some money. The first bag of money was exhausted. He asked for the second bag. And that's when Shanta realized that the second bag of money was missing. Naturally, they were desperate. They immediately rushed to the hotel, looked everywhere, And then again they were searching for it all the way through wherever they went. And they left these two shops because they had not brought out the money at all. They did not purchase anything, so it did not strike her to go on search there. She was very desperate, and not only that they lost the money, but also it happened on an auspicious occasion, which could mean a bad omen for the wedding. She was more worried about that. After submitting our invitation at the feet of Bhagwan, we have come to do this purchasing. Why would this happen? Shanta was literally very upset. She could not make out why this happened at all. All she could think of was, my God, this is a bad omen that we have lost one bag full of money. Even after submitting the invitation at the feet of Bhagwan, how could this happen? And immediately that brought her to the name. She started desperately chanting the name, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Please help. And suddenly it struck her, they would go to the shops also. Just make an inquiry. There was no way they could have lost it there because they never brought it out, they never opened the bag. But as soon as they went inside one of the shops and were inquiring, one of the workers of the shop came running with the bag. Said, you people left this here. To the delight and surprise of Shanta and Krishna, they found the bag, but only after chanting the name. It's only after chanting the name, it struck them to go to the shop, make inquiries, and that's where they got it. Shanta was very happy, and she knew that Bhagwan would not let her down, Bhagwan would not fail her. Shanta writes in her article how Bhagwan had always been a constant companion, coming to her rescue, help, guidance and protection always. Especially because of her condition, she needed to depend upon people for everything. Her husband was very, very helpful. He always accompanied her wherever they went, always helped her. And she says that once they had to return to Bangalore and she boarded a train, they had written something in her ticket. She didn't see it properly and she got into one of the compartments when somebody said that all for the handicapped, there's a separate cabin. It is next to the guard's cabin. And that was the last, usually. So she got down, limped her way, somehow managing to that place, only to find out that it was there, the very beginning of the train, that is next to the driver's cabin. She had come all the way to the end of the train, only to find out it was there right in the beginning. Just imagine her plight. So somehow she managed to get into she walked a little bit and then got into one of the compartments. And she thought the train would move and then stop at the cantonment for 3 minutes, when she could get down and board her own compartment. But then to her dismay, she found when the train stopped at the cantonment, this particular cabin, this particular compartment next to the engine was just outside the platform, which meant extra height to climb. And how could she do that? And this time She needed somebody's help, some extra help. She did not know what to do, how to, because only 3 minutes the train would stop. And everybody was saying, please go to your compartment. That would be more comfortable, this and that. And of course, immediately she started, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, how would I go? How could I climb? You have to help me. Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. And she says, out of the blue, out of nowhere, a man, a hefty man, appeared. And before she could say anything, he just lifted her bodily and put her in the allotted compartment. And before she wondered who it could be, he left. He jumped out because the train started to move. He jumped out, and then she could not see him. We have to put ourselves in her condition, how real the situation is, how much was her pain and the relief afterwards. This is not worldly in the sense when suffering, a predicament comes, you call out to God and then you get relief from the situation. You get one step closer to God. You feel so happy that God has come to your rescue. So she goes on to say further how, in different circumstances, she found help unexpectedly, in unexpected ways from Bhagwan. Like she went to Kashi, and then again there was help everywhere, because the Kashi, Ganges, the steps are all very steep and high. She somehow managed by chanting his name, she says, and then they were going in a car towards Allahabad. It started to rain, and she knew that the cold and rain during travel again would affect her arthritis, that there would be more pain, and the limbs that had lost their strength would suffer even more. So all she could think of was Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, because they were going to do the rites for their ancestors. There are some final rites that had to be done for the sake of those people who passed away. So she needed to go there, and then she kept praying, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi. She says miraculously that the rain stopped, and there was no rain at all until they finished everything, until she boarded the car and started back. The whole time, when it was raining everywhere in Allahabad, there was no rain. She says, how could this happen? Just at the calling out, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, even nature comes under control. This is God who can control everything for the sake of a devotee who calls out his name. Bhagwan often said, you don't even have to be a devotee. Anybody who is in trouble can call out Yogi Ramsuratkumar. And my father, he would never say that he would come to their help. He would always say, my father would rush help to you. Indeed, it's always rushing help. So, we see in the lives of devotees how Bhagwan gives help in different ways. You see the difference, how difficult it was for her until she began to chant the name, and how easy it became afterwards. how things changed dramatically. This is the experience of all the devotees. And there are ever so many stories and stories. And still, Bhagwan has said, remembering even his coconut shell would fetch a shower of blessings to us, to all of us. So remembering every incident where he came to our rescue, where help, guidance and protection were provided, it is an investment for blessings. So now we are all, the whole world is in a difficult situation, and calling out his name is much needed. So let's continue to chant his name and offer our prayers. Bhagwan